if you have not been on a vibration plate before, you need to get on it before you put a child on it. I don't think that it's clinically appropriate to put a child on a vibration plate for like 20 minutes. And that's what some of the research is saying and is testing out is, 10 to 20 minutes for adults. It's just a lot. My husband got on it for the first time and he was like, oh my God, I'm so nauseous. So just make sure that you try and make sure that you know what it feels like before you put kids on it. Welcome to All Things Sensory by Harkla,
your go-to podcast for practical insights on sensory processing and development from an occupational therapy perspective.
Hey there, welcome to All Things Sensory by Harkla. I'm Rachel, pediatric occupational therapy assistant and certified primitive reflex clinical specialist. And today we're talking about a topic that's very near and dear to my heart, and it is all things vibration plates. So vibration plates are all over the internet, and I mostly see videos of adults using them. And I think that the conversation is really starting to grow on how to use them safely with kids in occupational therapy. And it's something that I have been using for a while. And I remember at my very first clinic that I worked at, my outpatient sensory clinic that I worked at, we got a vibration plate, and it was one of those big vibration plates that had like the handles and the buttons on the top. And it was like very big and robust. And I remember using that with kids and loving it. But also I had no idea what I was doing with it. It was like start very slow and start low and just like ease into it. But kids were loving it. And now I feel like they are on the comeback. And honestly, I got my vibration plate in my home after surgery as a way to help with lymphatic flow and drainage and kind of help in that aspect. And then I started having my kids get on it, and we were just like having the time of our lives with the vibration plate. And people started to ask over and over again, like, how are you using this with your kiddos? Like, how can we use this in therapy? What are the safety recommendations? What's the research saying? And honestly, things have just like really picked up around the conversation of how to use these in therapy. So I thought this episode would be really helpful to talk about, number one, the safety of using vibration plates with kiddos in therapy, as well as like how to use them, what settings to use, as well as functional activities to use with kiddos, and, kind of what the research is showing and which clients to use them with, which clients not to use them with. So I think if you are interested in using a vibration plate, or if you already are using a vibration plate in therapy or at home, this would be a really great episode to make sure that you listen to and just learn more about. So first things first, a vibration plate is really just like a flat plate that moves up and down really quickly. And what's fascinating about them is they were used back in like the 1970s when the astronauts were going into space. I think it was the Russian astronauts who were, preparing for space, and they were preparing for anti-gravity, and they started using vibration plates in order to prevent bone loss and atrophy of their muscles. And so, fast forward to 2026, and we're still using them for those same reasons, plus so many other areas. And so the vibration plate just moves up and down. You can change the speed, and you can change, there's two different things to keep in mind. There's the amplitude and there's the frequency. The amplitude is how much the vibration plate moves up and down, and then the frequency is the speed of how fast it moves up and down. And you can really play with the amplitude by moving where your hands or your feet are and put them closer together for less amplitude, move them farther apart for more amplitude. The farther apart your hands or your feet are when you're on it, the more it mimics like running and like more muscle contractions, and the closer your feet are together, the less input it is. So whenever I'm starting a kid on it, I always have them with their feet closest together in the middle and bending their knees, and it kind of reduces some of the intensity. And then the frequency is how fast you turn the speed up. And so that's really what you can see on vibration plates nowadays is you can just change the speed. And I have kids in the clinic who will come in and turn the speed of the vibration plate up as high as it can go. And the plate literally like moves away from the wall, and it's like it's blasting off. And I'm like, this is why we're not getting on it, because this is what's happening to your insides right now. So we're going to start low and slow. We're going to keep it on that first setting to start with, and we're just going to start really slow and get them used to that type of input. So in a nutshell, that's really what vibration plates are. That's kind of the history. And I just think it's really fascinating to learn about that as to how they used to be used and now everyone's using them for things like fat loss and stuff. And I'm like, that's not really my area of expertise. It's more of like, if that's what you want to do, then go for it. But I also don't think that it's clinically appropriate to put a child on a vibration plate for like 20 minutes. And that's what some of the research is saying and is testing out is, 10 to 20 minutes for adults. It's just a lot. If you have not been on a vibration plate before, you need to get on it before you put a child on it. My husband got on it for the first time and he was like, oh my God, I'm so nauseous. So just make sure that you try and make sure that you know what it feels like before you put kids on it. So when you are using vibration in therapy, there are a few things that you want to be cautious of and you want to observe for. So first of all, in OT, we're never kind of doing that set it and forget it type application. We are turning the vibration plate on. We are with our clients. We are not leaving them. We're not sitting down and doing documentation while they're on the vibration plate. We are 100% eyes on our clients at all times, there with them all the time. Okay, good. Next thing, we want to make sure that we are observing for any body position changes, any tone changes, any facial changes, any color changes. I had one kiddo get on the vibration plate and she was like, whoa, this is scary. I had another client get on and was basically like, oh, I can feel all the things. And I was like, yep. So it just like really, really increases that awareness. And I think that it's so important to make sure that we are aware of that. We're watching for dizziness, any nausea, any potential adverse reactions. If you have any clients who have a history of seizures, epilepsy, osteogenesis imperfecta, any heart conditions, a pacemaker, you want to make sure that number one, you talk with their primary care provider first. If it is a child whose seizures are controlled, you want to make sure that you chat with the neurologist first. When in doubt, always err on the side of caution. And then, if you do want to engage with the vibration plate, have them sit on the floor and put their legs on the vibration plate, or have them stand and balance and put one leg on the vibration plate rather than their full body weight. And just, again, start very slow, always err on the side of the caution. I had a client who, her mom was a little bit cautious because she was having kind of a flare up of, I think she said POTS or MCAS, but there was some sort of a flare, whether it's PANDAS. Make sure that you err on the side of caution with those kids as well, because the last thing that we want is to like shake everything up and cause a flare. So just some things to be aware of. Again, if you are pregnant, make sure that you're not getting on the vibration plate as well. Any other medical issues or history of medical issues, you just want to make sure that you're extra cautious. So got that out of the way. Now, when you are incorporating it into OT, you want to make sure that you are including a functional task. So like I said, we're not just going to set it and forget it here. We are going to put together a functional activity rather than them just standing on it or sitting on it or balancing on it. So some of my favorites, using Zoom ball. So grabbing the handles, opening them and closing them, and watching that football kind of zoom closer and farther away. I love incorporating, we did the game Follow Your Nose, which is an olfactory activity. And I put all the little canisters on the ground. And then I had my son squat down, pick up a canister and stand back up, smell it, and then identify what the smell was. So we're incorporating that multisensory input. The vibration plate provides a lot of vestibular, tactile, and proprioceptive input, and it's intense input as well. So that's why you want to make sure that you're using it for no more than like 1 minute to 2 minutes at a time when you're first starting out. So really quick, short durations. I love putting a therapy ball on top of the vibration plate or a peanut ball and having them sit on it. And that also kind of decreases the intensity of it as well. Playing catch, doing balavizx on it, doing cross crawls, working on one-footed balance. Just make sure that the one foot that they are standing on is in the middle of the plate rather than on one side of the plate. I also love to do like a yoga flow on top of it as well. So you can kind of walk them through a simple yoga flow, going in different positions and getting their head heads into different planes as well. But again, just make sure that you're nearby them so they don't lose their balance and fall over. And then the last one that is my go-to is Spot It. I love using the game Spot It for primitive reflex integration. And I just feel like it intensifies the reflex integration and the muscle tone activation when we're on the vibration plate. So something like putting a Spot It card on the vibration plate while they're on their hands and their knees and their hands are on the plate, and then having the card up in front of them so they're looking down and looking up, working on the STNR, holding the cards on either side so they have to turn their head to find the match to work on the ATNR, and then holding the cards above and then putting one down in between their feet while they're on the vibration plate. Doing that one, again, make sure that you are like nearby them, because that can really cause them to lose their balance when they look up, especially if they have a retained TLR. So those are a few of my favorite activities to do with them. The other area that I'd like to cover is just some of the research that is coming out with vibration plates and pediatrics specifically. There's some fascinating research on toe walking. So if you have a kiddo with idiopathic toe walking, the research is showing that it's improving it in the moment, but the results aren't long lasting. So yes, we're going to see an improvement in their toe walking for, 10 to 20 minutes after the vibration plate, but it's not going to those results aren't lasting longer than that short amount of time. So we need to do the vibration plate a little bit more in order to see those benefits. There's some really interesting research on constipation and whole body vibration as well. So that's something that is promising for our kiddos who are holding their bowel movements or who are chronically constipated. Definitely something to try and see if that helps. And then there's also some really fascinating research on cerebral palsy and the use of vibration plates, which I think that's really where I've seen the most use of vibration plates in OT, is with kiddos who have really high muscle tone. But I also really like using the vibration plate with my clients who are working on primitive reflex integration as well, especially who do have lower muscle tone. So I think it's promising. It's really fascinating. I have loved having it at my little clinic and using it consistently with my clients. And I think if it's something that you are working with a client in therapy on and the family says, hey, should we get one of these at home? I think that's a really important conversation to have depending on the client. So I've had one client who already had one, and then they came to see me and they were like, he uses the vibration plate every single morning. It's like what he needs in order to give him that really intense input that he craves. And then he goes to school and he has a really great day. And then I have another client who was like, should we get one of these? As the kiddo was sitting on one side of the vibration plate, just like getting all the input. And I was like, I don't think this is the right option to have at home. I would do something like a pull-up bar and providing traction and getting that type of input at home and then coming to work on it during OT. So just some interesting things to make sure that you're aware of. Again, watch for adverse reactions, err on the side of caution, go really low and slow. If you have any hesitations, then don't use it. That's always my go-to. If you want to learn a little bit more in depth, there is a course available on Sensational Brain that includes AOTA CEUs, and it's all about using the vibration plate in occupational therapy for kiddos. That's something to look into. But I think just start by digging into the research. I'll link some references in the show notes or in the description of this podcast, so that way you can dive into it and it can kind of get you started on your quest. As far as brands, I always get asked which brand. I personally use the Life Pro Mini. It's relatively affordable. It's compact. I have two of them. They've lasted over a year each. They've worked really well. Hypervibe is more of like a therapeutic brand. It's definitely more of like a clinic type vibration plate. But honestly, if you're looking for one to get, I would just read the reviews and see what other people are saying about it. And if the reviews are solid, then I would say it's probably going to be a great fit. But I hope that's helpful. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to help. And I think that this is just a great topic to continue to talk more about. And make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure that you like this podcast as well. And take a screenshot and share on social media and tag us at All Things Sensory Podcast. We'd love to see that you're listening and learning. And we've got so much more great information to come your way. So we'll plan on seeing you next week. Thank you so much for listening to All Things Sensory by Harkla.
You can find links and resources from today's conversation right in the description of this episode.
If you want to connect, ask a question, or share what resonated with you, come find us on Instagram at All Things Sensory Podcast. We'd love to hear from you.
As a podcast listener, you get 10% off your first order at Harkla. Just use the code SENSORY at checkout or head to harkla.co/sensory to get started.
We're so grateful you're here and honored to be a part of your journey.
Everything we share here is for educational purposes only and reflects our professional experience. It isn't medical advice. Please consult your healthcare provider for support specific to your child.
Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.